I'll just give it another minute or two while the stragglers dribble on in. But for those that are with us, thank you for joining us. Welcome to February's Modern Work Pulse. And just a couple of the basic old housekeeping rules up there on your screen at the moment. So just for the sake of crowd control, please keep yourselves on mute. If you've got a question, use the raise hand feature. Hopefully by this stage in the game of Microsoft Teams, we all know where the raise hand feature is. Otherwise, feel free to unmute yourself and ask the question or type it in the chat. So the chat will be monitored. So we'll come back to you in the chat and we'll respond verbally as well for everybody. The session will be recorded, so you've got a few seconds to fix your hair and makeup if you feel the need. I tried, this isn't getting any better, so I'm just going to stick with the way I look right now. Please don't turn your cameras off just because I've said it's being recorded. We love seeing smiley faces. We love seeing people paying attention and nodding. No mesh avatars, please. We don't want the mesh avatars in there. We want to see real human beings. So we got a few there. We go. Look, some cameras on, eh? How's that? Oh, smiling faces on Valentine's Day. I do love it. Oh, I love heart reactions too. See, we're starting early. Well, look, I might kick straight in. There'll be others joining us. They'll keep flooding on through, but that's okay. They can catch up later. My name is Dan. I'm the Training and Adoption Practice Manager for ICOM. And from a wider sense, the Cloud Collective, I'm all about the human being side of technology. We know the technology works. I know the technology works, but I'm here to make sure that humans understand it. And that's what this session is all about. So for those that haven't joined us before, I'll explain a little bit about what the Modern Work Pulse is and the point of it. But yes, my name's Dan. I'll be hosting, I'll be emceeing, I'll be telling lots of really bad dad jokes, and maybe you'll laugh at one or two of them. Don't feel the pressure, that's okay. We do have a fairly packed agenda to get through today. So I'm going to be talking about OpenAI and ChatGPT. What is it? What does it mean for us? Where are we going? What's this artificial intelligence all about? Dale's going to take us through a feature roundup. So Dale's going to go through some recent updates in Teams and Office 365 and what's coming soon. And then we'll be joined by Adrian and Amore, who's going to talk to us about employee wellbeing and technology. So how tech can help us with employee wellbeing. And then as usual, we've got the question time. So it's an ask me anything, just don't ask me anything.
No, share invite. Yep.
So the Modern Work Pulse, what is it? Well, it's where you are right now. Again, thank you for joining us. We run this on the second Tuesday of every month. The point of this is to talk all things modern workplace. This started a couple of years ago through COVID as a Teams feature update when Teams was getting updated every 25 minutes. And we wanted to make sure that people were up to date with what the new features and all the changes looked like. And since then, obviously, everything's evolved so much and so rapidly that it makes a lot more sense for us to evolve and change with that and talk about all things modern workplace and modern workplace technology. So it's all about news and roadmap updates. We give tips, we give tricks, we give ideas. According to my poor spelling, we give ticks as well. The best part about this, and I need to be really clear about it, there's no sales and there's no jargon. This isn't a tech session. This is for end users. This is all about the features that end users are going to benefit from and what it means for them. Really importantly, we regularly give access to all the experts. So on a lot of months, we've got special guest presenters, either from some of these technology companies, from Microsoft, from some of our partner companies, from even customers telling their story about their journey through the modern workplace. And you've got direct access to them to ask those questions. So if you want to know more about future sessions, or if you've got a story to tell and a journey through the modern workplace, we'd absolutely love to have you along. So reach out to me directly or your ICOM account manager if you've got one. And we'd love to take you through this journey with us and share the story with anyone. But if anyone doesn't have any questions to start off with, I'm going to start talking about ChatGPT. Is there anything that anyone wants to ask to kick off? Or should I take a deep breath and a sip of my coffee? Silence is golden. Let's talk about AI. ChatGPT, what is it? Good question. Thank you for asking. So as you've probably heard, there's a lot of buzz and a lot of chatter around ChatGPT, and it's been growing and growing and growing exponentially. So it's been happening really quickly, the advent of this really detailed conversational technology or artificial intelligence, and how it's going to play into our day-to-day lives and our day-to-day work lives. To explain what it all means, where it's all come from, and where we're going, it was really important to go through a bit of a history lesson in AI, because I will admit that I don't know great amounts about it. I talk to my virtual assistants a lot, and that's about the extent of it. I went through a really detailed history of AI. I'm not going to take you through that. None of us need to do that today. It's Tuesday and it's a morning. I don't need to ruin your week with it. Suffice to say that AI isn't a new thing. It's not a new technology. It's not a new concept. AI was first broached as a theory all the way back in 1950 by a guy named Claude Shannon. He published a theory about programming computers to play chess. So that was the first article written discussing a computer program learning, all right? All the way back in 1950. We move forward into talking about Alan Turing. For those that don't know who Alan Turing is, go and have a read post this session. The Turing test is a really interesting thing that's still incredibly relevant today, proposing the idea of whether a machine can fool a human into thinking that it's a human. It's a really interesting read. For what it's worth, it still hasn't happened, which is really cool. In the 60s, there was heaps of development and this really big sort of advance in taking it from a theory into something real. But really importantly, I mean, the one that stood out for me was in the late 60s with Stanley Kubrick and 2001: A Space Odyssey. That meant that we had taken this concept of artificial intelligence and learning and put it in a context now where it was interacting with humans, even in a fictional world. But the idea of HAL controlling the crew and the computers was really interesting to sort of theorize that in a real world scenario. In the 70s, we had the development of our first real usable robots, and obviously Star Wars, C-3PO being a droid that interacted. Again, it's these theories of artificial intelligence and how they play into the real world. In the 80s, we started developing better robots with more capabilities. Mercedes even started developing a self-driving van, which had the capability to analyze its surroundings and continue driving without any human interaction. The 90s was where it really exploded and started to become really functional in the real world with chatbots like Alice. The really cool one there is Deep Blue. Does anyone know what Deep Blue is or remember Deep Blue from the 90s? No. 1997, IBM developed Deep Blue, which was a supercomputer that played chess, and it was the first time that a chess playing computer was able to win a chess game in a match against a reigning world champion. So we were starting to see that it was working. In the 2000s, we got the advent of Roombas. Hands up those that have got a Roomba. I'm still hanging for one. I hate vacuuming. I'd love a robot to do it for me and do it intelligently. Really cool one there is Spirit and Opportunity. For those that don't know, NASA's Spirit and Opportunity rovers on Mars were controlled with no human interaction. They used artificial intelligence to roam the surface of Mars. And that was a really big step forward with that technology. From there, we know that it's become a part of our day-to-day lives, the birth of the virtual assistant in the 2000s. From Google's Assistant to Siri to Cortana to Alexa to the weirder cousin of Samsung Bixby, which I believe is gone. Artificial intelligence has been a part of our day-to-day lives for quite a while now. I don't think that everybody understands that all these virtual assistants that help us day to day are AI. We all know that the Instagram and the Facebook algorithms are learning by what we click on. I know that Amazon knows what I want to buy and it keeps telling me to buy things, but there's actually more to it. There is so much more to the capability and the possibility of AI. So what is that? What does this all mean? Now that Microsoft are involved and we know that there's an integration with Microsoft and OpenAI, what does that mean? Where are we going? Well, that's the wrong slide. I don't think I was supposed to show that. That's a different logo. Where we are is Microsoft's integration with ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is essentially a product or a program by a company named OpenAI. For those that aren't aware, they've got I guess a sister product called DALL-E, which is an image equivalent. These are artificial intelligent chat bots that you give a prompt and it gives you an intelligent response in a human language. So for ChatGPT, you talk to it. For DALL-E, you give it a prompt and it gives you an image that's completely unique based on what you've told it. This was actually co-founded by Elon Musk. We're not going to go into that. He's a little bit on the nose with a lot of people. He helped co-found it and co-fund it. And apparently he very quickly parted ways and has been pretty critical of them since then. We'll put that to the side. Instead, focusing on the fact that last month, early January, Microsoft announced that they'd be investing $10 billion into OpenAI. $10 billion US as an investment into this incredible artificial intelligence technology, which you can bet your roses is going to give us a really deep and multi-layered integration into all of the Microsoft products. But the question is, what is it? Does anyone here have no idea what I'm talking about? Don't feel ashamed. That's the point of all of this. Everyone knows? Okay, cool. Well, that's me, and I'll hand over to the next one. No. ChatGPT is sort of tricky to explain. It's pretty hard to explain in sort of 50 words or less what ChatGPT is. So what I thought I'd do is cheat and show you. So this is the ChatGPT website. Hopefully you can all see it on the screen. Second most common thing said in Microsoft Teams for 3 years. Can you see my screen? Excellent. This is available to everybody. This version of ChatGPT is free. You can go to that website. I'll put it in the chat later on. And I really encourage you to go and have a play. That's the key to it. Have a play. What you do here is give it a prompt in the text input down the bottom, and it's going to give you a response. So to help me explain what it is, I'm going to ask it. Oh, that couldn't be more embarrassing if I tried. Oh, no.
Yeah, your link worked.
The important point is that it's not perfect. There we go. Give me a second here. I'm just going red and I'm just going to shrink while the tool talks to you. What you can do is give this different prompts and get it to explain things in a human conversation. Now, I don't know about you guys, but that doesn't really make a great deal of sense to me. So I can ask it to be a little bit more specific for the uneducated and the unintelligent like myself. The better your prompt, the better the response is going to be. You learn how to prompt ChatGPT just as it learns from the internet. So long and the short of it, like it says there, this is a robot that has conversations with humans. It understands anything you feed it based on the information that it pulls from, which is the internet. It learns from the internet. So it's got the potential to not give great answers sometimes. It's fairly well filtered. It's not always perfect. Sometimes its word replacement or its synonyms that it uses aren't great. It's not there to change the world and solve everyone's problems. It's there to give you that kickstart. It's a creative spark. Ashley, it can tell really good dad jokes and it can do a lot of really different things. Ashley just asked if it can tell good dad jokes. It actually tells ripper dad jokes, but you can have fun with it, right? And this is what I wanted to show. Rather than giving more slides, I wanted to show you the capabilities. So in the spirit of the day, I'm going to solve a whole bunch of people's problems. Are we all ready to copy the message down? This has just saved my ass. But you can give it fun prompts like that. You can change the tone of it by asking different things. So one of the ones that I'm enjoying playing with at the moment is write me a song So later on, I'll go and pull a guitar out and I'll start writing a whiny set of chords that goes along with the lyrics. But you can see that you can have endless amounts of fun with this. You can also feed it legitimate information. I fed it my essay question, and it gave me a not great response, but a decent response. I don't know how that's going to fare when I submit that. I'm fairly certain that my lecturer knows that I'm not that smart and I don't use those big words, but it can be used as prompts. Now, Kylie pointing out that her son's doing VCE. Yep. We're very aware of how this has the potential to affect different things. Schools are onto this pretty quickly. They've started to cotton onto this. What was that one there, Brendan? Sorry, I'm just bringing the chat back up. That was, yeah, right. We asked it to identify an error in some code and it did it and fixed it. Amazing. And this is one of the really big benefits. So for those that are into that sort of the code and error solving, things like that, it's reportedly incredibly good at you spitting in a broken piece of code and asking it to solve it, and it does it. Again, the possibilities that this can actually help us with, really, and I'm going to be really corny here and say it this way, it's really up to your imagination. It's really up to what you feed it and what you give it as to how many things it can solve. Does that help make a little bit more sense about what it can do and what it looks like? Yeah? Has anyone got any questions? I'm just bringing the PowerPoint back up. Harriet, yeah, you had a question?
So you said it gets its, builds things based on the internet, which we all know is a fun and exciting but slightly perilous place. How transparent are they about what gets fed into ChatGPT? Like, how do we know how vulnerable ChatGPT is to finding weird and wild things or giving us the wrong information? How does it determine the validity of, like, is this good stuff? Should I be feeding this back to consumers?
Yeah, that's a really good question that I'm sure some of you may have seen Google got incredibly wrong last week. So Google launched their rival to ChatGPT, and they asked it, they asked it for a question from a photo from the solar system or something like that was taken from the James Webb Space Telescope, and it gave them a completely different photo that was taken by a completely different space telescope and branded it as what they asked for. So again, it's not perfect, and it does have the potential to give completely false information. And that's one of the caveats, right? As this learns and gets better, it will learn, I guess, fake news, for lack of a better way of putting it. It's going to take time. And like you said, Harriet, the internet is an interesting wasteland. So again, there's always going to be the potential to get the wrong information. And I guess that's why I frame it up with, it's not going to solve all the world's problems, but it is going to give you a really good starting point. I've fed it a couple of interesting things. So for what it's worth, I'm studying organizational psychology, and I've fed it a couple of questions around some of the topics that I'm currently learning, and it hasn't answered all my questions. It hasn't given me a wealth of knowledge, but it's been able to break down certain concepts that I can then go and dig further. So what I've used it for is to ask it a fairly broad question and then keep digging from there. So essentially I take myself down a rabbit hole, and you find that you funnel the right information from there. How that's going to improve and how much that's going to improve over time, I guess that's a stay tuned sort of statement. What we do know, though, is that there's certain integrations that will be, let's say, somewhat flawless. Yeah, I'm going to put that in really, really big inverted commas and use that as a really nice segue into the so what statement. We've seen this really cool tool that you can go and have fun with. Awesome. So what? How does this relate to the modern workplace? How does this relate to Microsoft? Great question. Thank you for asking. The first thing that we've seen, as we know, Microsoft's investment, they've poured all this money into it. How's it going to integrate? The first one that we've seen, which was launched late last week, was the integration with Bing. Now, just to point out, this is live now. This is good to go. So after we finish today, go and have a play with this in Bing search. You can see now in a Bing search, you've got the option to search and chat. So you can now chat with your search engine rather than asking really closed questions. So the example that's here on the screenshot, I think is really cool. It gives a really detailed response there. So I'm planning a trip for our anniversary in September. What are some places we can go that are within a 3-hour flight from London Heathrow? Rather than just a list of dot points and other links to click, this is giving some really cool ideas that you can then expand on. And then you can see that there's sort of like reference links next to each one. And you can click on those and expand on that information further. So it's a chat experience for really detailed searches. So helping plan itineraries, researching consumer goods to buy. It can help you with reviews, and you can ask it what features you're after and what's better, what's not as good. And it can give you that information better than just a couple of dot points from a Google search. The creative spark, again, the ability to pull this conversation and use that as inspiration for something is, I'm going to say it again, it's endless. The possibilities just keep going, right? The other integration that we've seen straight away is with Edge. So the browser that's always been used to install Chrome, sorry, anyone from Microsoft that's on the call, has now got a reason for us to use this. Kevin says I need to join the wait list for a chat in Bing. Right, so it's obviously being overloaded because there's, for what it's worth, this morning there was some more announcements from Microsoft around some of the functionality. So there's probably a bit of a queue and a backlog in there, but it should be live. Give it time. Edge now has this capability. You can see on the screen grab on the right-hand side there, we've got a new pop-out window. So if you update to the new version of Edge, this should show up. I'm told that it should show up. And what you can do is use the ChatGPT prompts right there in Edge. So you can see what do I want it to write about? You can choose the tone of the writing and then even choose the format. So do I want a paragraph, an email, a blog post, ideas, dot points? What do I want? How long do I want it to be? Generate the draft and it'll give you that text. In this example, we've got LinkedIn open. So we simply just copy and paste that text. Again, it's all about making those workflows more efficient and not having to switch between 5 different things. It's that concept of doing more with less. We're not adding more software. We're not adding more windows. We're adding more capability within that one screen. What else? What about the rest of Office 365? We know that this is going to integrate in a really exciting way. We've been given very high-level details about the integration with all of Azure and the 365 stack. So talking about things like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, OneNote, that native integration like we just saw with Edge, a similar native experience in your Office 365 apps. Asking it for prompts, it will read what you're writing and make recommendations. We do have one live functionality at the moment with Teams Premium. For anyone that's got Teams Premium up and running, there is the intelligent meeting recap and the personalized notes and chapters within a meeting. That's all run off OpenAI and ChatGPT. The ability for it to read through the transcription of the meeting and give you your personalized follow-ups and notes. And I'll show you a screen grab in 2 seconds. And the most exciting integration, the one that I'm looking forward to the most, is its integration with Viva. Being able to use ChatGPT in Viva Insights to help learn about how you can, as a manager, help manage your people's well-being or their day-to-day workflows by using this artificial intelligence. Goal setting in Viva Goals, helping you write those goals to be more aligned to business OKRs and KPIs. And really excitingly is Viva Sales. Any of the sales team that are on the call, the ability for this AI to read through your emails and your chats and listen to your conversations and give you recommendations on how you can better position certain products based on success you've had in the past, or knowledge about that customer from the internet and a recommendation that way. Again, there's so much that this can do. It's not about taking over the world. It's not about taking our jobs. This isn't a SkyNet thing, even though I take the mickey out of it constantly. This is going to genuinely make people's day-to-day workflows within the Office 365 stack a whole lot more efficient and less clicks. It's right there and it's going to help you. It's going to prompt you. So above all else, I really want everyone to go and have a play with this at some stage. Like I said, I'll drop the link in the chat. Here's our screenshot of the Teams Premium. So the meeting recap, you can see the notes there that it's pulled out and it gives you those recommendations. It gives you suggested tasks. I can click on any of these colored lines here to go to that section of the meeting and read those specific notes or re-watch that part to see if it's gotten it right. It's all about helping you in your day-to-day life. So do go and have a play with it. Do go and use it to write your Valentine's Day message for your loved ones, or get some dinner ideas, whatever you're going to use it for. It's all there. It's all free and available too. Does anyone have any questions around that? Any questions around ChatGPT or any other AI stuff? No? Enough from me. Be quiet, Dan. That's a great idea. Let me introduce to you Dale Reeves. So some of you on this call may have met Dale before. Dale's one of our senior training and adoption specialists. He does all of our training and change for us at ICOM. He's probably met a whole bunch of you. If you've met Dale before and worked with him, you know that he is absolutely motivated by the customer success, and above and beyond is kind of how Dale lives. He is our go-karting champion at ICOM. He's also the Nordic skiing champion at ICOM. He's the darts champion at ICOM. He's the three-legged race champion at ICOM. He's the sprinter. He's got all the trophies on his desk. We have to polish them for him. But most excitingly, he plays the spoons, and he's got the Teams and Office 365 feature update for you. So take it away, Dale.
Thank you very much, Dan. Well, it's been a while since I've pulled out the spoons. Don't worry, I won't be pulling them out today. Today we're going to be going through, obviously, the Office 365 updates, and we'll walk you through those. So we've been handpicking the most, I guess, significant and more interesting updates that have been taking place, and that's what I'll be stepping you through first and foremost. So for today's session, what we'll do is we'll kick it off with Microsoft Teams, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about what you would have noticed actually coming through on the Teams application. So you'll have noticed very recently within the actual call screen and the meeting screen, the menus have changed. And the reason for this is because there's a lot of features that have been put into Microsoft Teams, and the menus have just grown bigger and bigger and bigger over time. So those menus are now condensed down. If you actually open up your menu, you'll notice that you'll see submenus in there as well, and you'll be needing to drill down into those submenus. Also in your top navigation bar in today's call, you'll also see your view modes are now available in that top navigation bar. So it just makes it very quick and easy for you to switch from your normal view to maybe large gallery or focus mode. So you can put it into all of those very, very quick and easy as well. And I'll just flick that one across there. So you can see as an example of a call, we now have submenus in there. A couple of other updates that are worthwhile mentioning, especially around calls. So calls to other organizations. Previously, when you were in a call with a person from another organization on Microsoft Teams, there was no way to, I guess, drag someone else into that call. So it was very, very difficult, a bit cumbersome. You need to put someone on hold, or you might need to merge calls together. That is now being rolled out mid-March, where you'll be able to add an additional person to a call that you're on with someone from another organization. So that feature there will make it a lot easier for you to collaborate with people outside of your organization as well. So no more need to merge calls or add additional people after hanging up and coming back to them. You'll be able to do that straight from that call with that person from the other organization. So that's a really great feature which is coming out in March as well. You'll notice that coming through. The next one here is around whiteboarding on Microsoft Teams room systems. So if you have a Windows-based MTR or a Microsoft Teams room, inside the sharing option on that touch panel, you'll notice that you've got an additional option there to instigate a whiteboarding session directly from the touch panel. So rather than needing to go into your laptop and instigate the whiteboarding session directly from your laptop, you'll now be able to do that directly from the touch panel within the room system itself. And I guess for reference for everyone who is doing this, if you are the meeting organizer, then that whiteboard is owned by the meeting organizer moving forward. So that's where you can access that whiteboard after the session has closed. So Windows-based MTRs, this is applying to. There will be updates, obviously, for other later on down the track, but at this point in time, it's just Windows-based MTRs. Oh, excuse me for a second there. Click through to the next slide. And as you can see here, here's an example of a whiteboard up on the screen within a room. So obviously, if you've got that whiteboarding session up, you'll see this and you'll be able to do that directly from the touch panel. PowerPoint Cameo. So this is actually one that I'm very, very excited about. It's a great feature within PowerPoint. So moving across to PowerPoint now. I've got a love heart here because it is Valentine's Day after all. So happy Valentine's Day to everyone in this session today. PowerPoint Cameo is all about making videos accessible from within the PowerPoint application itself. So you'll be able to do things like this directly from the PowerPoint application, and you'll be able to utilize other effects that PowerPoint has natively within the application. So like you can see there, I've just put a heart with my video on it, and it's a pre-recorded video, but you will also be able to do live streaming directly into your PowerPoint deck presentation. So this is really, I guess, revolutionizing, I guess, the way that you put in videos into your PowerPoints. And if you want to explore that, you can open up the application today, go to the recording section within PowerPoint, and you'll see Cameo underneath there, and you can start to have a play around with that today. And that is currently available. Moving along to Wiki. So we are, Microsoft Wiki is being retired. This is where we put the ominous sound there for people who love Wiki. One thing about this is that obviously with Wiki's retirement, the way that the information that is residing within Wiki, that will be transitioned across to OneNote via the Notes tab within Microsoft Teams. As you can see here on the screen, I've got an example of that there. It's about a 3 or 4 step process to transition that information across from Wiki. So that'll be taking place very, very shortly. So keep an eye out for that. If your organization does use Wiki, you will need to obviously use the OneNote section within Microsoft Teams moving forward for all of that information. And Viva connections on iPad and iPhone. For quite some time, people have been, I guess, frustrated by the inability to be able to access Viva connections on larger iPads and iPhones. This is now going to be made available across all of those devices. So fantastic, you'll be able to utilize that. And for a lot of our customers who speak to us, especially those with frontline workers, they are very, very excited about this particular change. You'll be able to utilize directly from their iPads when they're out on site, the Viva Connections tab within Microsoft Teams. So this is a great initiative and rollout, which is taking place in March. So you should expect that change to take place. Previous to this rollout, a lot of people were actually getting a not available for tablet message coming up, which was, I guess, frustrating a lot of people. But moving forward, it will be available across all devices, which is a fantastic update. And last but not least, I'm just going to go through some quick fire updates here. One of the changes which has been, I guess, a long time in the making is the ability to be able to create contact groups directly from your call section within Microsoft Teams. Now, this update has just taken place. You'll notice when you go to your call section, you've got a little plus button where you can now add your contact and contact groups directly from, rather than having to go to your chat section and create it from there, you can just do it from a simple click of the button within the call section. This is really great for people who work on reception, who have to deal with multiple contacts on a regular basis, and or contact centers and such. So that's now available, or will be available very, very shortly. The other one here is also Teams flyout enhancements. So for those of you who haven't really explored this before, underneath a chat conversation, you have the ability to embed other relevant applications that you can utilize within a chat. Moving forward, the way that these are listed are a lot more tidier, and you'll be able to see them all categorized within this. So when you actually go to a chat conversation and you click on the ellipsis down the bottom, you will see all of these applications now in a categorized methodical order, which is fantastic as well. And last but not least, video filters. So Microsoft Teams is rolling out, currently it's in public preview, but video filters. So similar to other applications like Snapchat and such, you will be able to use video filters within Microsoft Teams. So that's something very, very exciting, and I'm sure will change the way we all look in our meetings moving forward. So you will expect that change coming through very soon. As I mentioned, it's in public preview. Excellent. Before I hand over to Adrian, if anyone does have any follow-up questions to this, I'm going to post my email address in the chat. So feel free to reach out to me at any time if you want to ask any further questions about any of these updates. And yeah, otherwise, I hope you enjoy all of those changes, and I'll hand over to Dan to introduce Adrian.
Yeah, thanks, Dale. Good job, mate. Before we move on, Ryan, sorry, you had your hand up. Go for it.
Sorry, quick question there then. With those contact groups, are they organised per person or per organisation? So, or can you do both?
It'll be per person.
Yeah, per person. At this point in time, as Dan just mentioned, it's the individual who'll be creating those contact groups. But there is work taking place at the moment, I believe, that will allow, similar to what was in Skype for Business, where you'll be able to add contact groups from Exchange directly into Microsoft.
From organisational level,
Yeah, correct. Yeah, but at this point in time, it's not there. These are just the individual-based contact groups that we're referring to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that.
No problem.
Any other questions before we move on? Right. Well, let me introduce the heaviest hitter that we've got in today. We always try to have, you know, a big sort of heavy swinging guest come in. So who better to have than the guy that walks around like he owns the joint? Strangely enough, he does own the joint. So Adrian is our Director of Services and one of the owners of ICOM. He is, to give him his flowers, yeah, he's our inspiration and our mentor. And Adrian's mentality and his passion and drive for success and getting the most out of the team, I think I safely speak for most people at ICOM, at the very minimum, myself and Dale and Georgia in the training team, that he's the reason that we drive for customer success so much. And drive is a really key word for Adrian. As you can see there, he's been driving sports cars since he was a little kid, all the way up until he bought an Alpha, and he no longer drives sports cars. But coincidentally, that car in the photo is still running, whereas the Alpha is not. And he loves a good coffee, thinks he can make a good coffee, and I still make my own. So we're going to allow him to continue on his search for the magical beans. But for now, Adrian, tell us a little about Wellbeing and technology, please.
Thank you, Dan. Humbled by the intro. Thanks very much, everybody, and thanks for joining the Modern Workplace for the Modern Work Pulse for February. I have been in the business for 22 years, and I am driven to drive culture inside the organisation through many different sort of means. One of those being more recently driving it through technology. So what I thought I'd do is just share with you, I guess, our experience, and it's quite topical and relevant at the moment, in particular in the current landscape that we're in. We're all sort of battling through post-COVID and in this hybrid state. So I thought I'd share with you some of the insights that we've done to manage wellness, or certainly raise the bar when it comes to wellness inside of ICOM. And if you are using technology or applications to improve wellness, look, I hope that you can get one or two takeouts out of this. If you're not using it at all, then hopefully you get a lot more richer information as a result of this presentation today. If we look at the stats in front of us, and the stats sort of tell a horrible story as far as engagement and the worth it equates. So why are we even talking about this today? It says things like 15% of the employees worldwide are engaged at work. Highly engaged employees are 12 times less likely to leave their company than those who are not engaged. And from a profitability standpoint, organisations with highly engaged employees have 23% more chance of greater profitability. So if we look at our current landscape, this paints a picture. I'm sure you've seen stats of a similar nature, where using technology to improve wellness is certainly something that we'd certainly recommend if you're not doing it already. And if you look at employee experience, people these days are not necessarily working for a paycheck, whilst they are, but it's not the only driver. They're looking for a sense of purpose. They're looking for clarity, job description. They want to be heard, they want to add value, they want that sense of purpose. So, I guess from our viewpoint, it's something that's very, very topical at the moment. So we'll rewind a couple of years to 2020 when COVID hit us, so it hit the whole globe. We're an organisation that's always consulted and sold to remote working, but it's not something that we widely adopted back in 2019 or 2020. We had the ability to do it, but we weren't doing a great deal of it. But as an organisation, from a wellbeing perspective, spending most of our time in the office on regular business hours, you'd see somebody walk past with that furrowed brow, or you'd have a discussion in the kitchen, or you'd walk into the office and see someone sitting there. You got a good gauge on how people were feeling at work, their workload, or whether it was a situation with a customer or somebody else within the office. But you got a good idea about how people were feeling. When COVID hit, we were locked away, and we missed that connection with people. And whilst we did all sorts of things like stand-up meetings, it wasn't quite the same. So what we did was ask ourselves, we find ourselves in this position where what can we be doing? What can we be doing? It's in our control to improve wellness, or at least keep a handle on it. How are our staff feeling, and what things have we got in our control to be able to at least tackle it or make it better? So what we did at the time is we actually engaged Matthew Brotherson. I'm not sure whether he's on the call, but he's our partner in the Cloud Collective, who's part of Quorum. And I reached out to Matthew. I said, what are you doing in this space? And they were using Office Vibing, using it quite effectively. And I do know that it's going to be replaced, Office Vibe, at some point with Glint, purely because of its integration with Office 365 and Teams. But that was certainly one of the things that we decided to switch to, and more recently to Microsoft Insights. Does everybody know Microsoft Insights? Do you receive the daily email from Microsoft Insights? If you do, I urge you to look at it. I must admit, for a little while I was getting these emails. I wasn't sure what they were about, but certainly as we got more ingrained in the whole Viva stack, I was looking at this data and going, hey, this is some really, really cool stuff in there. We've now got the uplift licensing for Insights, which gives us a lot more detailed analytics and data, which we're able to sort of do some things with. But I'll spend a few moments on both these applications, and I'll give you some ideas as to what they do and specifically what they've done for ICOM as an organisation. So Office Vibe is something that goes out. It's a survey that goes out to staff. We've set it up to go out on a monthly basis. It's about 20 questions. It's qualitative data that we get back, which tells us information about how staff are going, what they're actually feeling, what they're doing, feedback on managers, feedback on their workload, feedback on initiatives, all sorts of questions that go back to the staff, which we then find those results in the way of a dashboard. So this is a comparison table. This is a live example, which tells us how each individual department is tracking across all the different segments, starting at engagement and recognition and feedback and so on and so on. So this is information from the questions that are asked to our staff. It's anonymous. And what we do is it's tabled back into this comparison table, which we look at regularly. We look at this in our ELT, in our SLT meetings. And what we do is, if with information that's starting to trend down, we start to act on that information. And that we start off with, I suppose, the leadership group looking at that information from a trending viewpoint, saying, why are we at this point? What can we do collectively to uplift those scores? We also are able to manipulate the questions so they actually delve deeper to get a better handle on what's causing those trends. Is it departmental wide? Is it companies? Is it company wide? Where are those issues stemming from, and what do we need to do? We also make it a habit to go back to the staff and ask them, we're trending down in these areas here. Where are we not hitting the mark, and what do we need to do as an organisation to be able to improve where we sit with those scores, and getting that feedback. And what it does is get buy-in from the people that were actually taking an interest in those scores, and at least trying to do something about it. So Office Vibe has certainly been something very, very, very valuable to us in improving our wellness program inside of ICOM. More recently, we've delved a lot deeper into Viva Insights. So a little bit different to surveys and questions. This is information that comes out of Office 365. So it sort of focuses more around the habits and the way that we work within Office 365, the time that we spend on calls, calls after hours, etc., etc. So it gives us a completely different set of data. And if you look at an example on the right-hand side there, that 25% of employees collaborate outside of their working hours for more than 3 hours per week. Now, for some organisations, that's not really a problem. For others, it might be, depending on what you do. But it doesn't necessarily give you the answer, but it does arm you with information to be able to go back to the business and either delve deeper through questions via Office Vibe or have conversations with your people about it. One of the interesting things that it told us a little while back was that I can't remember what the percentage was, but it was a high percentage of our leadership group or our managers was spending time with meetings with their staff. It was highlighted to us from the viewpoint that we thought, well, actually, why is that? And when I ticked in an area which it got it to let me know more information of what it could be, it asked me the question, things like, do your leaders have clear boundaries? Do they require more coaching? Are they micromanaging? But the score was high enough for us to take it back to the business. For us, it was more a boundary issue, as in our leaders were unclear as to where do we start and where do we stop. So it was good to be able to workshop that with a group and then be able to act on it and do something about it. It's a completely different set of data than what outcomes from Office Vibe, but having the two together, you're able to delve a lot deeper and be able to get a result, or at least some plans to improve well-being inside the workplace. So what we learned, other things that we learned, from insights was that people want more connection, that sense of purpose, more regular one-on-ones, and clearer direction. So these are the stats and the information that we got back. I touched on the leadership mentoring in coaching for our leaders before, so it was screaming out that we need to spend more time with our leaders to set some more boundaries, to make them manage more effectively, to break down silos, do more collaboration from a team's perspective. But the thing with it was I say that we keep trying different things, ask for feedback, take the time to know your people. I think as far as these applications are concerned, there's a load of them out there, but keep trying different things and keep asking different questions of your people to try and get the right result. So the outcomes for ICOM and us and using tech to improve our wellness, tech is a good thing. It gives you data. It helps you to proactively manage your people rather than react. It helps you get ahead of the game. And then obviously refine KPIs and OKRs, and even better if we can absorb that into Viva goals as well. What we did as a business towards the end of last year, it was we do a great job in increasing wellness, at least working with our business to get a better job from a wellness perspective. Dan sort of took it upon himself to look into greatest place to work, and one of the reasons why we did it wasn't ego driven, certainly not from my viewpoint, but it was more so that to acknowledge the leaders in the group and our staff, to get more feedback from them and get some, I suppose, more points as to what can we do to actually take this back and actually refine what we do and how we do it. It is a globally recognised brand. We do use it for new talent and to retain our staff, but it's a good talking point as well with presentation, tender responses, and so forth. So for us, it was a bit of a reward with our leaders to be able to get that stamp at the end of it. But that's it from me. Hopefully, it's given you some insights to how we've used technology, to better and improve our well-being in this landscape. I think it's a good tool to be able to use. As I said, we don't see everybody every day when we come into the office. I know a lot of our people come in for connecting with others, and they don't get that. So being able to get information from different sources and to be able to do it proactively is certainly a good thing. So hopefully you've got something out of it. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, Adrian. This is where we do the big round of applause. Come on, be nice to the boss. Otherwise he's going to ask me why no one applauded his presentation. Come on. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions around that? Blair? No? Hand up, stretch, move.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Sorry, Dan. Adrian, I was just interested in the comment about glint. but perhaps we
Yep.
take that offline and we can catch up about that. I'm interested in having a little bit of
No
a look at
worries.
it.
For sure. Happy to, mate.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. We'll stick around for a couple of minutes if there's any other questions. Otherwise, if anyone wants to jump out with a question now, feel free to. I'm going to plop a link in the chat now for a survey. Please take 20 seconds out of your day, click on that. It's 3 or 4 questions about how amazing we all did, and we know that we did an amazing job. As Adrian mentioned, Great Places to Work wasn't for the ego boost, it was for me, but I'll take another ego boost. Otherwise, thank you so much. As was mentioned in the post and in the email out, there is a giveaway, there is a gift voucher up for grabs. So I will go and randomize all of the names and pick out who is the lucky winner of the voucher. I can't send roses because, well, that's just not going to work today. But stick around, or stay tuned to your email, and you'll see a follow-up for next month's invite if you'd like to join us again. Thank you very much, Dale. Thank you very much, Adrian, everyone who's joined us. And we've got a couple of people from the other end of the world who have joined us as well. So thank you for staying up late and tagging along. Have yourselves a good Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, that was awesome.